This is Nick Gonzalez, everyone. He's famous. We met in our freshman orientation, and
Inseparable ever since.
yeah, it's been
I think
a good run. Today, I wanted to chat with you about archetypes. You were an English major. I remember you always having a book. It was one of the things that really impressed me about you, was just how well read you were. You could read, write, and the idea of you becoming an actor and really embodying so many different amazing characters over your career. But how has that affected you personally, both with what you have learned from them and also what you've brought to them?
You know, funny enough, I didn't find acting until I was at Stanford. You know, it was something that I didn't even realize it wasn't like a dream for me. You know, I think I thought you had to grow up in Hollywood. You know, I was a kid growing up in Texas in the 70s and 80s, so it wasn't exactly like everywhere. It's so ubiquitous now, the business. You know, you can find a headshot photographer in any town in the United States now, and anybody will teach you, you know, acting lessons and whatnot. So for me, it was something I found late, but what I realized was that it's something I'd also, in some ways, been doing all my life, because I was a latchkey kid. You know, my mom worked 9 to 5, and my parents divorced when I was young, and he was stationed in another city, in another state. And while we had a great relationship, I was alone a lot, you know, and the TV and the big screen played a big part in bringing me up as a person, as a man. I was constantly looking at all these different archetypes. I would take from each film and be like, ooh, I want to be like that strong silent type, you know, I want to be like the pale rider, or, you know, the man without a name, or, you know, all the Sergio Leone films, you know, like I grew up watching all the Turner Classic Movies, you know, and all these representations of what a man should be or could be. And then I'd watch like Lethal Weapon and see like, you know, Riggs and be like, oh, and be like that guy, or, you know, and I always kind of would then take these things on, or I was a bit of a chameleon, and I had friends from so many different groups that I would almost, I guess I was a bit of a changeling, you know, of a shapeshifter in many ways. And then that kind of set the stage for what I ended up doing later. And for me, there's a lot that I bring to a character that's from my own life. I always try to, instead of imagining something outside of myself, I try to see what are the things that I have in my life that parallel maybe this character's journey, or this journey in this particular project. And then also, you know, because some of the characters, like one of the seminal ones I've done, you know, Dr. Melendez was a mixture of my brother and my father, who were two physicians and were very much like him. And I felt like that was something that I just knew this character. And then there are the things that I take from the characters, because I've been able to I get to go play a Navy SEAL for a couple months, and yet also have like a bunch of prep time beforehand, or I get to play a SWAT team sniper, and I get to delve into that life and training for you know, months at a time. They stay with me a bit, you know, sometimes on skills that I learn, other times just like a philosophy on how I look at the world. So for me, I get that, where I get to try out all these different lives, right? The path that I didn't take, I now get to go see. Like, I didn't become a doctor like everyone in my family, but I got to do that for, you know, 3 seasons on The Good Doctor. You know, I didn't become a pilot. I thought maybe I'll go in the military and do special forces, you know. But then I get to go on NBC's Brea and play, you know, you know, world famous test pilot, you know, and the best pilot in the world. You know, you get to play all these different characters, and I got to say, they do stay with me. You know, there's a lot of, when I look at some of the characters I get a chance to play, they're men in very extreme situations, you know, and we'd like to think that we would be the man who'd stand up and do the right thing in each of these points. So I think when I get to put that against my own life and be very honest about, wow, what would I do in this situation? Like, I know what this hero would do. What would I really do in this? And so it causes a lot of time to really be introspective and look inside and gain a knowledge about myself. And maybe I run short, and I want to be a little bit more like Melendez in a particular way, or more like Levi Delgado in another way. So I'll take those traits sometimes and try them on, you know, or hold myself to a higher standard. You know?
Yeah, that is not something I will say that I've had much experience in my life, because I'm always behind the camera pointing it forward towards the people who are embodying these different archetypes, embodying these different characters. So how how do you actually bring it into your life? So if there is, because we have a practice called the attribute practice that Nick Onken did, and the idea is that you look at your, basically you look at who you are now, and then you look at who you want to become. And as you're looking at who you want to become, you pick three people as role models to kind of look forward. So what are the kind of practical things you do if you want to bring a little bit of a character into your real home life? Like, how would you go about doing that?
I think your practice, what you say about embodying maybe the traits, or looking at your circle of friends and being like, gosh, I really love the honesty of my friend Andy. I love the vulnerability of my friend Jason, and I know that feeling that it engenders in me. And if I want to make people feel that way, what can I, tamper down about myself or play up? So, I mean, I do everything from not only just being a observant. I'm a people watcher, and I look at how those attributes make me feel as a person, and then if I want to embody that to then make other people feel that way. But some of it also comes out of some things can sound strange, but look, there's always a procedure for every part. Like it's not, I don't have the same process, right? It can be so different depending on the circumstance. But one of the big things is we even do a lot of dream work, where you're even asking the universe, like, hey, I have these questions. Tell me something about this character. Give me an insight. Give me something I can cling on to. And it's so interesting when you write down the dreams after you ask that, and almost ask the universe, right? Or, and literally write it down in a journal, what you need to know or what you're looking for. Like, please show me. And oftentimes when you then analyze your dreams, I had under the guidance of really great directors who then would bring that and link that in with a character. Or one of the acting coaches that I work with, that's another big thing he does, where it's not, instead of seeing this as like, this is somebody I'm not like, how am I like? So trying to find the similarities and less than the differences, and say, like, how am I like this person? It's almost like your gratitude practice, right? Of looking at the positives of like how close I am to this, as opposed to, oh wow, how different we are.
So you're really just shortening the distance that you need to travel to actually become this new attribute.
Exactly, and it's not emotional substitution either. It's not like I have to think of something completely different. What I can do is I can still put myself in these circumstances. I mean, I get all this time to embody them, even so. If I'm already living that character so much, I'm almost trying it on for size. And then it's just a matter of excising the things that don't really serve me, moving on from there, and then grabbing the things that do. And some of it is just practice. I find, like, with characters, a lot of time it's, the fake it till you make it kind of thing. Or, you have to be doing the practice before you're going to feel that way sometimes. Sometimes you have to put in the work before you actually feel the thing that you're going for.
Right.
It's not immediate gratification, as we know, but is so popular now. But putting in the time then really kind of then starts to engender the results.
So one of the things that we do in the attribute practice is we say set a container for 30 days, 60 days, where you actually pick one of the attributes that you've written down from one of these characters or people, and bring that into your life and really try to embody it for this period. Because having that set container, having that time, actually really gives you like the space and the focus to bring it in. And so I'm wondering if there are any, as you're kind of looking at where you're at in your career and the next steps you want to take, if there's any like mentors you see out there and attributes that you actually want to apply for yourself.
Well, the biggest thing, I think, to me, and I have more than enough people to model this for me, thankfully, one of them being my wife, but at times we trade roles and I'm the person modeling it for her, is an optimistic gratitude. Remembering and having gratitude for the opportunities you had and how far you've come and what that's made, the person that's made you. that to me is the thing that keeps me going, and in the slow times and the fast times, it's either going to keep you grounded or it's going to keep you focused.
I guess to wrap it up, I just wanted to share like a few of the attributes in you that I've always loved, and one of the reasons I've always valued time with you and in our friendship. First, you have this incredible thoughtfulness, where you're just a really deep thinker, and I love that, because I know that any topic I want to discuss with you, that you will.
I'll have an opinion on.
You'll have an opinion on. The second thing is a dry sense of humor, where
there's nothing wet about this humor.
Yeah, it will just like, in like the most serious moment when I'm taking myself too seriously, you will absolutely call me out.
That's true.
With this incredibly like dry sense of humor. And then the other one is just your physical discipline. To like be in the shape you're in at your age takes a tremendous amount of effort, and
vanity.
I mean, whatever the internal cause is, the fact that you have been able to stay in such incredible shape for your entire adult life, I think is really impressive. So great job on that.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Yeah, and thank you. We'll see you guys all later.